I was pulling into my driveway after a normal Tuesday at work when my phone rang. The caller ID showed Mercy General Hospital, and instantly my stomach dropped. Nobody ever wants to see a hospital calling their phone. My hands trembled as I answered, trying to keep my voice steady. "Hello? Is this Melody Pemberton?" The nurse's voice was professional but urgent. "Yes, this is Melody. Miss Pemberton, your mother Lorraine has been admitted to the ICU. She's in critical condition. We need you to come immediately." The groceries I'd just bought tumbled from my hands, eggs cracking on the concrete as I scrambled back into my car. "What happened? Is she okay?" "The doctors will explain everything when you arrive. Please drive safely, but come quickly." My mind raced through every possibility as I sped toward the hospital. A heart attack like Dad? A stroke? She'd seemed fine this morning when I left for work, maybe a little tired, but nothing alarming. I called my sister Bridget 3 times during the 15-minute drive, but she didn't answer. Typical. She never picked up when I needed her, only when she needed money. The hospital parking garage felt like a maze, and I abandoned my car in the first spot I found, not caring if it was the right zone or not. My dental hygienist scrubs were still damp with sweat from a long day of cleanings, and my white sneakers squeaked against the polished hospital floor as I ran toward the ICU. But when those elevator doors opened on the 3rd floor, I stopped dead in my tracks. 2 police officers were standing at the nurse's station, and behind them stood my younger sister Bridget, her yoga mat bag slung over her shoulder, tears streaming down her perfectly made-up face. She looked like she'd come straight from one of her classes, wearing those expensive matching leggings and sports bras she'd bought with Mom's money last month. "There she is," Bridget said, pointing directly at me. Her voice was loud enough for everyone in the corridor to hear. "Officers, that's my sister Melody. That's the one who's been doing it." Detective Ramon Vega stepped forward, a tall man with graying temples and tired eyes that had probably seen too much. His badge gleamed under the harsh fluorescent lights. "Melody Pemberton?" "Yes, but I don't understand what's happening. They called about my mother. Where is she? What's wrong with her?" "Miss Pemberton, I'm Detective Vega. Your mother is being treated for poisoning. We have reason to believe this was deliberate." The word hit me like a physical blow. Poisoning? That's impossible. Who would poison Mom? Bridget stepped closer, and I could smell her lavender essential oil that she always wore too much of. "Tell them about the tea, Melody. Tell them about how you make her special tea every single morning. Tell them about how you're the only one who handles her medications." "Of course I make her tea. I live with her. I take care of her." Detective Vega pulled out a small notebook. "Miss Pemberton, we're going to need to ask you some questions. Your sister has made some serious allegations about your mother's care." "Allegations? Bridget, what are you talking about?" My sister's face contorted into an expression of grief I'd never seen before, not even at Dad's funeral. "I found the searches on your laptop, Melody, about inheritance laws in Pennsylvania, about power of attorney, about how certain medications interact with heart conditions." She turned to the detective, clutching his arm. "She's been planning this. My poor mother has been getting sicker and sicker, and Melody's the only one with access to her food and medicine." "That's insane. You're lying." An older nurse approached us, her name tag reading Felicity Shaw, RN. She had kind eyes behind thick glasses and reminded me of Mom with her silver hair pulled back in a neat bun. "Please, this is an ICU. If you need to have this conversation, there's a family conference room down the hall." Detective Vega nodded. "Miss Pemberton, I'm going to need you to come with us." "Am I under arrest?" "Right now, we just need to ask you some questions. But I should inform you that you are a person of interest in the attempted murder of Lorraine Pemberton." Attempted murder. The words echoed in my head as the detective's partner, a younger officer whose badge read Martinez, stepped behind me. I could feel the weight of everyone's stares, the nurses, the other families in the waiting area, all watching as my own sister accused me of trying to kill our mother. "Can I at least see her first? Please, I need to know she's okay." Bridget laughed, a bitter sound that didn't match her tears. "You want to see if she's still alive, you mean? To know if your plan worked?" "Miss Carver, that's enough," Detective Vega said firmly. He looked at me with those tired eyes, and I could see he'd already made up his mind. In his experience, it was probably always a family member. Your mother is unconscious and in critical condition. The medical team is doing everything they can. Right now, the best thing you can do is cooperate with our investigation." As they led me toward the conference room, I caught sight of Mom through the glass doors of the ICU. She was surrounded by machines, tubes running everywhere, her skin as pale as the hospital sheets. The woman who had kneaded bread dough with those strong hands just yesterday morning now looked so small and fragile. "I didn't do this," I said to anyone who would listen. "I love my mother. I would never hurt her." But Bridget's voice followed me down the hall, loud enough for everyone to hear. She killed our father's spirit when he was dying, always telling him what was best, controlling his medications. Now she's doing the same thing to Mom. "Officers, you have to stop her before it's too late." The conference room door closed behind us with a definitive click, and I realized that my normal Tuesday had just become the worst nightmare of my life. My own sister had orchestrated this scene perfectly, tears and accusations timed just right for my arrival. But what I didn't know yet was that Mom had been conscious when they brought her in. She'd whispered something to Nurse Shaw before the sedatives took effect, something that would change everything. Detective Vega set a recording device on the table between us. "Ms. Pemberton, why don't you start by telling us about your mother's morning routine, every detail?" I looked at the red recording light and took a deep breath. Somewhere in this hospital, my mother was fighting for her life, poisoned by someone she trusted. The only question was which daughter had betrayed her. 3 months before that horrible day, life had finally started feeling manageable again. After Dad passed away 2 years ago from a heart attack, Mom had moved in with me. The transition wasn't easy at first. Lorraine Pemberton was a stubborn woman who ran her own bakery, Pemberton's Daily Bread, for 30 years and didn't take kindly to needing help. She'd built that business from nothing, waking up at 4 in the morning every day to prep dough, her hands covered in flour before the sun came up. "I don't need a babysitter, Melody," she'd said the day she moved in, standing in my guest room with her arms crossed. "I'm perfectly capable of taking care of myself." "I know you are, Mom. Think of it as keeping me company. This house gets lonely." That softened her a bit. The truth was, we both needed each other. I'd been divorced for 5 years, no kids, just me rattling around in a 3-bedroom house that felt too empty. Having Mom there brought life back into these walls. We found our rhythm within a few weeks. Every morning at 6:30, I'd make her favorite chamomile tea with 1 sugar cube, exactly how she liked it. She'd sit at the kitchen table reading the newspaper while I prepared breakfast, usually scrambled eggs with wheat toast, sometimes oatmeal with fresh berries if her stomach was sensitive. I'd set up her medications in the weekly organizer every Sunday. Blood pressure pills, vitamins, fish oil supplements, and the new heart medication her cardiologist, Dr. Ranjan, had prescribed. "You fuss too much," Mom would say, but she'd smile when she said it. "Someone has to. You certainly won't." My work at Brighten Dental was only 20 minutes away, and I'd arranged my schedule to be home by 5 every day. Mom spent her days reading, watching her cooking shows, and tending to the small garden she'd started in my backyard. She'd planted tomatoes, basil, and her favorite rosemary, the same herbs she used to grow behind the bakery. Tuesday evenings were our favorite. We'd watch Jeopardy together, Mom calling out answers before the contestants. She was sharp as ever, especially with history and literature categories. During commercial breaks, she'd tell me stories about the bakery, about the regular customers who became like family over the years. "Mr. Coleman came in every morning for 15 years, she told me one evening, her eyes distant with memory. Ordered the same thing, 1 blueberry muffin and black coffee. When his wife died, he stopped coming for a month. When he finally came back, I didn't charge him for that entire year. Sometimes people need kindness more than they need money." That was Mom, generous to a fault. My sister Bridget visited maybe once a week, usually Thursday afternoons when she knew I'd be at work. She'd blow in like a whirlwind, her yoga mat over her shoulder, always talking about some new wellness trend or meditation retreat she wanted to attend but couldn't afford. "Mom, I just need a little help with rent this month," became her standard greeting. "The yoga studio cut my hours, and my car payment is due." Mom would quietly write her a check from the worn checkbook she kept in her purse. When I'd come home, I'd see the carbon copy, 500 here, 300 there, sometimes more. In the 6 months since Mom moved in, she'd given Bridget nearly $8,000. "You're enabling her," I told Mom one evening after finding another check carbon. "She's 35 years old. She needs to learn responsibility." "She's finding her way, Melody. Not everyone has your stability." Stability I worked for, Mom. While Bridget was dropping out of her 3rd college program, I was studying nights to become a dental hygienist. While she was blowing through Dad's inheritance on that failed aromatherapy business, I was saving for a house. Mom patted my hand with her weathered fingers, still strong from decades of kneading dough. "You're too hard on your sister. Yes, she's made mistakes, but family is family. We don't give up on each other." There's a difference between not giving up and being taken advantage of. "Your father used to say the same thing," Mom said softly, "but Bridget just needs more time to find herself." The irony was that Bridget had found herself just fine. She'd found herself a comfortable life funded by Mom's generosity and Dad's life insurance payout, which she'd burned through in 6 months on what she called investments in her spiritual journey. A failed aromatherapy business, a pyramid scheme selling wellness supplements, and a trip to Bali for a yoga certification she never completed. I managed Mom's medical appointments, her prescriptions, her meals, her finances, everything that kept her healthy and safe. Bridget showed up for checks and sympathy, playing the struggling younger daughter who just needed one more chance to get her life together. But we maintained our fragile peace for Mom's sake, and for 3 months, it worked. Until the morning, everything changed, when Mom's tea became a weapon and family became the enemy. It started small, so small I almost missed it. Mom began complaining of headaches about 6 weeks ago, just occasional discomfort she'd brush off with a wave of her hand. "It's nothing, honey. Probably just need new reading glasses." But then came the nausea. I found her one morning gripping the bathroom sink, her knuckles white, face pale as paper. "Mom, what's wrong?" "My stomach's been acting up. Must have been something I ate." "You barely touched dinner last night." She straightened up, forcing a smile. "I'm fine, Melody. Stop worrying." 2 days later, I came home from work to find her collapsed in the kitchen, conscious but confused. She was sitting on the floor next to the refrigerator, still holding a glass of water, looking around like she didn't recognize her own surroundings. "Mom, what happened?" "I don't know, honey. I was getting water and suddenly the room started spinning. My legs just gave out." I helped her to the couch, checked her blood pressure, which was lower than usual, and called Dr. Ranjan. He suggested we come in immediately. After 3 hours of tests, blood work, and examinations, he found nothing conclusive. "It could be a reaction to the new heart medication," he said, reviewing her chart. "Let's reduce the dose and monitor closely." The episodes became more frequent and unpredictable. Some days she'd be perfectly fine, laughing at her game shows, helping me fold laundry, telling stories about difficult customers at the bakery. Other days, she could barely get out of bed. Her skin would turn clammy, her hands would shake, and she'd clutch her stomach in pain. "Maybe it's anxiety," Dr. Ranjan suggested during our 3rd emergency room visit. "Losing a spouse, moving homes, these are significant life changes." "My mother doesn't have anxiety," I insisted. "She's the strongest person I know." The tests kept coming back inconclusive. Blood work showed slight abnormalities, but nothing that pointed to a clear diagnosis. CT scans were normal. Heart monitors showed some irregularities, but nothing that fully explained her symptoms. Each doctor had a different theory: vestibular problems, inner ear issues, delayed grief reaction, vitamin deficiency, chronic fatigue syndrome. Then Bridget started showing up more often. Instead of her usual Thursday afternoon visits when I was at work, she began coming by in the evenings and weekends. She'd sweep in with fresh flowers and organic smoothies from the expensive juice bar downtown. "I'm so worried about Mom," she'd say, eyeing the medical supplies on the counter. "Look at all these medications. Maybe they're interacting badly. Maybe she needs more specialized care." "Her doctors are monitoring everything carefully," I replied, noticing how she'd hover near Mom's medication organizer, reading labels, asking questions. "But you're not a medical professional, Melody. How do you know you're giving her the right doses?" "Because I follow the prescriptions exactly as written. I use a medication tracker app. Everything is documented." Bridget started planting seeds of doubt in Mom's mind during her visits. I'd overhear snippets. of conversation from the kitchen. "Mom, you look worse than last week. Are you sure Melody's giving you the right pills? Maybe you need a second opinion. I know someone who specializes in holistic medicine. It must be hard for Melody, working full-time and taking care of you. Maybe she's overwhelmed." One evening, Bridget cornered me in the kitchen while Mom slept on the couch. She leaned against the counter, picking at her manicured nails, a habit she'd had since childhood when she was planning something. You know, if something happens to Mom, the house goes to both of us equally. Dad's will was clear about that. "Why are you bringing this up now?" "Just making sure you remember. Half of everything, including the proceeds from selling this house and Mom's savings." "Mom's not dying, Bridget. She's getting worse every week. You can see that, right? And you're the only one handling her care. If something happens, people might ask questions." "What exactly are you implying?" She shrugged, that fake, innocent gesture I'd seen 1,000 times growing up. "Nothing. Just that you've been under a lot of stress. Taking care of Mom, working full-time, managing her finances, and you're the only one who handles her medications. It would be easy to make a mistake." "I don't make mistakes with Mom's health. Everyone makes mistakes, Melody. Remember when Dad was dying? You insisted on managing everything then, too. Maybe you gave him too much morphine. Maybe that's why he went so quickly at the end." The accusation hung in the air like poison itself. I wanted to slap her, to scream that Dad's death was peaceful and exactly what hospice had prepared us for. But I held my tongue, knowing any reaction would fuel her narrative. 2 days later, Mom had her worst episode yet. I found her in bed, hallucinating, seeing Dad in the corner of the room, talking to people who weren't there. Her heart was racing at 150 beats per minute. She was vomiting violently, her whole body shaking. The ambulance arrived within minutes, and as they loaded her onto the stretcher, she gripped my hand with surprising strength. "The tea," she whispered. "Something's wrong with the tea." But then her eyes rolled back and she lost consciousness. The paramedics pushed me aside, working frantically to stabilize her. As the ambulance pulled away, I saw Bridget's car turning into the driveway. She'd arrived just in time for the show. Standing in that hospital corridor with handcuffs cutting into my wrists, I watched my sister's performance unfold like a carefully rehearsed play. She sobbed to Detective Vega, her voice breaking at just the right moments, her hands trembling as she pulled out her phone to show him something. "Look, Detective, I took screenshots. She was searching about inheritance laws in Pennsylvania, about power of attorney, about how long certain poisons take to clear the system. I should have said something sooner, but I couldn't believe my own sister would do this." Detective Vega scrolled through her phone, his expression growing darker with each swipe. "When did you find these searches?" "Last week. I was visiting Mom and needed to check the weather on Melody's laptop. That's when I saw the browser history." "That's a lie," I protested. "My laptop is password protected. She's never used it." Bridget's tears intensified. "She gave me the password months ago. She told me it was Mom's birthday backward with an exclamation point. 417951 exclamation point. My blood ran cold. That was my password. How did she know that? I'd never given it to her. Detective Vega turned to me. "Miss Pemberton, we're going to need to take you to the station now." "She even told me last week she wished Mom would just pass peacefully," Bridget continued, her voice rising. "She said she was exhausted, that Mom was taking over her whole life, that she couldn't do this much longer." I said I wished Mom would find peace from her symptoms, not die. You're twisting everything. Detective Vega nodded to Officer Martinez, who began reading me my rights. The words sounded surreal, like something from a television show, not my actual life. As they led me toward the elevator, I caught Nurse Shaw's eye. She was standing at the nurse's station, watching everything unfold with a concerned expression. "Please," I called out to her, "check everything, test everything, run every toxicology panel you can. I didn't do this." "Ma'am, we need to go," Officer Martinez said firmly. "Wait," Nurse Shaw stepped forward. "Detective, as the attending nurse, I should inform you that Mrs. Pemberton was semi-conscious when she arrived. She said something about tea and her daughter. We assumed she meant the daughter who lives with her." "She meant the daughter who poisoned her," Bridget interjected. "Melody makes her tea every single morning. She's obsessive about it." In the police car, my mind raced through the timeline. 3 weeks ago, I'd noticed things going missing from the house. Mom's pearl earrings, the ones Dad gave her for their 40th anniversary. Cash from her purse. Some of my prescription anxiety medication from when Dad died. I'd suspected Bridget immediately, but didn't want to accuse her without proof. That's when I'd installed the security cameras. In the interrogation room at the police station, Detective Vega laid out the evidence Bridget had provided. The searches on my laptop, testimony from neighbors about how exhausted I looked, the fact that I was Mom's sole caregiver and the beneficiary of her life insurance policy. "I need you to listen to me," I said, leaning forward. 3 weeks ago, I installed security cameras in the house. Hidden ones. They're motion activated and upload directly to the cloud. Detective Vega raised an eyebrow. Security cameras? Yes. Things were going missing from the house. Mom's jewelry, cash, even some of my old prescription medications. I suspected Bridget but didn't want to accuse her without proof. I bought them online, installed them myself. There's one in the kitchen that covers the whole room, one in the living room, and one in the hallway that shows Mom's bedroom door. And you didn't tell your mother about these cameras? I didn't want to worry her about the theft. She already gives Bridget so much money. If she knew Bridget was stealing too, it would break her heart. Detective Vega made a note. Where exactly are these cameras? The kitchen one is inside the fake plant on top of the refrigerator. The living room camera is in the bookshelf, inside what looks like a book called Pennsylvania History. The hallway one is in the smoke detector, which is actually a combination unit. And you said they upload to the cloud? Every motion triggers a recording that uploads immediately to my cloud storage. I have the app on my phone, but you took that. I can give you the login credentials. Please, detective, check what happened this morning. Check who made Mom's tea. He studied me for a long moment, then called for the tech specialist. Within minutes, Officer Chen, a young woman with sharp eyes, was pulling up the cloud storage on her laptop. Start with this morning, I urged. 6:30 a.m., that's when I make Mom's tea. The timestamp showed 6:28 a.m. There I was in my scrubs filling the kettle, waiting for it to boil, adding 1 chamomile tea bag to Mom's favorite mug, the one with cardinals on it that she'd bought at the bakery's 10th anniversary. 1 sugar cube, a splash of milk, stirring it carefully. The video showed me carrying it to her room at 6:35 a.m., setting it on her bedside table, kissing her forehead, and leaving for work at 6:42 a.m. Now check 7:47 a.m., I said, remembering that Bridget had mentioned visiting Mom this morning in her statement. Officer Chen scrolled forward. The kitchen camera showed nothing at that time, but the hallway camera captured everything. At 7:47 a.m., Bridget entered Mom's room, staying inside for approximately 3 minutes. "We need the kitchen footage from when she leaves the room," Detective Vega instructed. At 7:50 a.m., Bridget emerged from Mom's room carrying something in her hand. She went to the kitchen, and that's when we saw it clearly. She was carrying Mom's mug, the cardinal mug, and she poured the contents down the sink, rinsed it twice, then placed it in the dishwasher. "Why would she pour out the tea?" Officer Chen asked. "Keep watching," I said, my heart pounding. The footage continued. Bridget then made a fresh cup of tea, and this time she pulled something from her yoga bag, a small vial. She added several drops of clear liquid to the tea, stirred it with the same spoon, and carried it back to Mom's room. Detective Vega stood up abruptly. "We need to get back to that hospital now." Detective Vega had Officer Chen pull up the previous week's footage while we raced back to the hospital. What we discovered in that police car made my stomach turn. There was Bridget visiting during my work hours, a pattern I'd never known about. Tuesday at 2 p.m., Thursday at 1:30 p.m., Friday at 3 p.m., always when she knew I'd be at the dental office, elbow deep in someone's mouth. The footage was damning. On Tuesday, she added drops from the same vial to Mom's afternoon juice. On Thursday, she sprinkled a white powder into Mom's soup, stirring it carefully until it dissolved. On Friday, she tampered with Mom's medication organizer, switching pills, adding extras to certain compartments. "My God," Officer Chen breathed. "She's been doing this systematically." "We need to test that vial," Detective Vega said urgently. "If she still has it in that yoga bag, we'll have our evidence." We burst through the hospital's emergency entrance, Detective Vega's badge clearing our path. As we approached the ICU, we could hear Bridget's voice, high and emotional, talking to someone. "She's my mother, too. I have every right to make decisions about her care." We rounded the corner to find Bridget arguing with Dr. Ranjan and Nurse Shaw. She had positioned herself as the concerned daughter, the one who'd saved Mom from her dangerous older sister. 2 security guards stood nearby, clearly unsure of how to handle the situation. "Ms. Carver," Detective Vega announced, "step away from the patient's room." Bridget spun around, her face flushing when she saw me standing there, uncuffed. "Why is she here? She should be in jail. She tried to kill our mother." "We've reviewed some new evidence," Detective Vega said calmly. "I'm going to need to see your bag." "My bag? Why?" "Your yoga bag, Miss Carver. Hand it over." Bridget clutched it tighter. "This is ridiculous. You have no right. Melody's manipulating you just like she manipulated Dad before he died." Just then, a weak voice came from inside the ICU room. "Detective!" We all turned. Mom was awake, propped up slightly in bed, tubes and wires everywhere, but her eyes were alert and focused. Nurse Shaw rushed to her side. "Mrs. Pemberton, you shouldn't try to talk yet," Nurse Shaw said gently. "No." Mom's voice was hoarse but determined. "I need to say this." Detective Vega moved closer to the bed, and I followed, my heart breaking at how frail Mom looked. Bridget tried to push past us, but Officer Martinez blocked her path. "Mom, don't listen to them," Bridget pleaded. "Melody's been poisoning you. I caught her." Mom's eyes locked onto Bridget, and in them I saw something I'd never seen before when she looked at my sister, complete clarity and devastating disappointment. "I know what you did, Bridget," Mom said, each word careful and deliberate. "I've known for weeks." The color drained from Bridget's face. "Mom, you're confused. The medications are making you say things." "I pretended to be asleep," Mom continued, her voice growing stronger. "Tuesday 2 weeks ago, you came into my room while I was napping. I watched through barely open eyes as you put something in my water glass. I thought I was dreaming, thought maybe the medicine was making me paranoid." "That's not true." "So I started testing you," Mom said. "I'd pretend to drink what you gave me, then pour it into the potted fern by my chair when you left. The days I actually drank what you brought were the days I got sick." The pattern was clear. Dr. Ranjan stepped forward with a tablet in his hand. "The toxicology report just came back. We found traces of ethylene glycol in your mother's blood. It's a component of antifreeze. In small doses over time, it causes exactly the symptoms she's been experiencing." "Yesterday," Mom continued, "I made a mistake. I actually drank the tea because I didn't see you come in. I was really sleeping this time. But when I woke up sick, I saw the vial in your bag when you thought I was unconscious. You were careless, left your bag open on the chair." Detective Vega held out his hand. "The bag, Miss Carver. Now." Bridget's carefully constructed mask finally cracked. She threw the bag at Detective Vega's feet. "Fine, search it. You won't find anything because I was trying to help her. Those were natural supplements to counteract what Melody was doing." Officer Chen put on latex gloves and carefully went through the bag. She pulled out the vial, small and unlabeled, except for a piece of tape with B12 written in Bridget's handwriting. "B12 vitamins," Bridget said desperately. "For energy. Mom's been so tired." "We'll test it," Detective Vega said. He turned to Officer Chen. "Call the lab. I want to rush on this." But Mom wasn't finished. "Check her phone," she said. "Thursday morning, I saw her taking pictures of my will. It's in the drawer of my bedside table." Officer Chen pulled up Bridget's phone, which they'd confiscated earlier. In her photos, clear as day, were pictures of Mom's will, zoomed in on the sections about the house and the inheritance distribution. "Those searches on Melody's laptop," Mom added, her strength fading but her determination solid. "Bridget knew Melody's password because she watched her type it once, when Melody was helping me order groceries online. She's been planning this for months." "Bridget Carver," Detective Vega announced. "You're under arrest for attempted murder, poisoning, and attempted fraud." As Officer Martinez cuffed her, Bridget's composure completely shattered. She changed Dad's will. She convinced him to leave everything to Melody. "I deserve half of everything. That house is worth $800,000. Mom has $200,000 in savings. It's not fair. I'm her daughter, too." "You're not my daughter," Mom said quietly, tears streaming down her face. "My daughter would never try to kill me for money." The officers led Bridget away as she screamed about unfairness, about being the forgotten child, about how Mom always loved me more. Her voice echoed down the hospital corridor until the elevator doors finally closed, leaving us in a silence that felt both devastating and peaceful. Mom recovered fully after 3 weeks of treatment. The doctors said if she'd consumed much more of the poison, it would have caused irreversible kidney and liver damage. We sat in her hospital room the day before her discharge, the afternoon sun streaming through the windows, making the sterile white walls seem almost warm. "Mom, I'm so sorry. I should have protected you better." She squeezed my hand, her grip stronger than it had been in months. "You did protect me. Those cameras saved my life. But Bridget is your daughter. I should have seen what she was capable of." Mom's eyes filled with tears, but she didn't let them fall. "I failed her somewhere, Melody. Maybe I enabled her too much, always bailing her out, never letting her face consequences. Your father saw it too. That's why he structured his will the way he did, leaving the house in trust with you as executor. He knew Bridget would sell everything and waste it all within a year." "You knew about the will?" "Of course I knew. We decided together. We spent 3 sessions with the estate lawyer, making sure everything was ironclad. But we never told you girls, hoping Bridget would mature, find her path, become responsible." She wiped her eyes with the hospital tissue. "Greed is a poison worse than anything she put in my tea. It destroyed my daughter long before she tried to destroy me." The trial was swift and decisive. The vial tested positive for ethylene glycol concentrate, enough to kill Mom if given in 1 dose, but Bridget had been smart enough to go slow, making it look like natural decline. During the investigation, more evidence surfaced. She'd researched slow-acting poisons for months, bookmarking websites about inheritance law, elder abuse that goes undetected, and how to contest wills. She'd accumulated over $40,000 in debt from failed businesses, online gambling, and living beyond her means. The yoga instructor job she claimed to have? She'd been fired 6 months ago for stealing from the cash register. The prosecutor presented the security footage, the toxicology reports, and Bridget's own financial records. Her court-appointed lawyer tried to claim mental distress, temporary insanity brought on by grief over our father's death. But the methodical nature of the poisoning, the careful planning, the systematic theft of Mom's belongings to sell online, it all pointed to cold calculation, not grief. Bridget was sentenced to 15 years in prison for attempted murder, with additional time for theft and fraud. As they led her away in shackles, she looked at me one last time. There was no remorse in her eyes, only rage that she'd been caught. Mom sold the family house 6 months later. She couldn't stand being in those rooms where Bridget had smiled at her while slowly poisoning her. She moved into a beautiful senior living community called Sunrise Gardens, where she made friends immediately. Within a month, she was teaching baking classes in their commercial kitchen, her hands once again covered in flour, creating instead of trembling from poison. "I needed a fresh start," she told me as we unpacked her things in her new apartment. That house had too many memories, good and bad all tangled together. She visited Bridget once in prison, driving 3 hours each way to sit across from her daughter behind reinforced glass. I went with her for support but stayed in the waiting room. Mom came out after just 10 minutes, her face composed, but her eyes red. "What did you say to her?" I asked as we walked to the car. "I told her I forgive her, but our relationship is over. I'll always love the daughter she was, the little girl who used to help me frost cookies at the bakery, who sang in the church choir, who made me Mother's Day cards with crooked hearts. But I can't love what she's become." We never used the security camera footage of the theft as additional evidence. The poisoning charges were enough. But I learned something valuable from this whole nightmare. Sometimes the most dangerous threats come from the people closest to us, the ones we'd never suspect because we're blinded by love and loyalty. Trust is precious, but verify when your instincts scream warning. Mom still makes her own tea now, every morning at exactly 6:30, just like she used to. And every Thursday we have dinner together at her new place, where she's teaching me Dad's secret recipe for sourdough bread. Her hands guide mine as we knead the dough, the rhythm soothing and therapeutic. "The secret is patience," she tells me, her voice steady. "You can't rush good bread. You can't rush healing either." Last week, while we were baking, she said something that stuck with me. "Family is family, Melody, but that doesn't mean we have to accept poison, whether it's in our cup or in our hearts. Sometimes the greatest act of love is knowing when to let go." The house security system stayed in my home, upgraded and monitoring every room. Some lessons you only need to learn once. Mom's fern, the one she poured the poisoned drinks into, somehow survived and thrived. She took it with her to Sunrise Gardens, where it sits in her sunny window, a reminder that even things fed poison can survive and grow stronger. These days, Mom is happier than I've seen her in years. She has her baking students who adore her, friends who play cards with her every Wednesday, and a gentleman named Arthur who brings her flowers every Sunday. She's living, really living, not just surviving. As for me, I sleep better knowing Mom is safe, surrounded by people who watch out for her. I visit 3 times a week, and we still watch Jeopardy together, her calling out answers before the contestants. Some things, the good things, don't have to change. The other day, she won the Sunrise Gardens baking competition with Dad's sourdough recipe. As she held up that blue ribbon, her face glowing with pride, I thought about how close we came to losing her, how Bridget's greed almost stole this moment and all the moments to come. But we survived. We're still here. And every morning, when Mom makes her tea in her new kitchen, she does it with steady hands and a grateful heart. That's the real victory, not the prison sentence or the justice served, but this, Mom alive and thriving, making tea without fear, teaching her recipes to a new generation, and proving that sometimes the strongest thing you can do is survive what was meant to destroy you. If you found this story compelling, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. Leave a comment below about your own experiences with family, trust, and betrayal, because these conversations matter. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more real-life stories that remind us all of the strength of the human spirit. Thank you for listening to my story. Stay safe, trust your instincts, and remember, the people who truly love you will never feed you poison.